Hello, this is Chef John from foodwishes.com with Scallop Gratin. That's right, Scallop Gratin is a very generic name for a dish that can be made in a variety of ways. From something super light and simple featuring nothing more than just scallops and butter, to much richer and decadent variations featuring roux sauces, usually topped with tons of cheese and breadcrumbs. But here we're definitely keeping it on the lighter side, mostly because I think that's the best way to enjoy the flavor of fresh scallops, but also the weather's warming up, and pretty soon I'll need to squeeze into my Speedo. I don't think they make those in XX. But anyway, let's go ahead and get started with the sauce. So in a bowl, we're going to start with some creme fraiche or heavy cream. Both are going to work perfectly here and pretty much do the same thing, except of course, since creme fraiche is fermented, you are going to get a little more tanginess, a little more flavor. And then to that, we're going to add some freshly grated lemon zest. And one of the common lemon questions I get is when to use juice and when to use zest. And basically what it comes down to is when you want lemon flavor, but not the acidity of lemon, you go with the zest. So that's what we're going with here, because I'm going to add some white wine, which is going to provide plenty of acidity. So we'll do some fresh lemon zest. We will also do a pinch of cayenne and a little bit of kosher salt, but not too much. The great thing about scallops is they come naturally seasoned by the sea. So we'll be a little bit careful with the salt. And then last but not least, a little splash of white wine. Nothing too expensive, but definitely something drinkable. As I've said for years, if it's not drinkable, it's not eatable. When in doubt, use Sauvignon Blanc. So we'll do a little bit of white wine and we'll stir that together. And once we have that mixed together, we're ready to introduce our scallops. And there's mine. I got 8 nice big scallops. I'm going to do 4 per person. I know, thank you, Mr. Math. And what I want you to look for is something called diver or dayboat scallops, which should look exactly like this. They should be glistening yet dry and have a beautiful, sweet, fresh smell to them. Okay, what we definitely don't want is anything that's been soaked in a disgusting preservative brine. Okay, so make sure you're talking to the person you're buying these scallops from. And as usual, I'll give a ton more info on the blog about how to know you're getting the right ones. And what we'll do is we'll transfer those scallops into our cream and wine mixture, and we'll toss them around and give them a little bath. And once those are coated, what we'll do is we'll just set that aside for about 5 minutes. So it's too short of a time to call it a marinade, but we will let those scallops get acquainted with the sauce for a few minutes while we prepare our ramekins or other baking dish. So I'm going to use these earthenware ramekins. You may remember these from such videos as brandade. And what we'll do, because the origins of this recipe are French, we will generously brush those with butter. And by the way, it may or may not be obvious that you can just do these all in one casserole dish if you want. But personally, I think they just look much cooler presented in this fashion. But that's totally up to you. You are the El Capitan of your scallop gratin. But anyway, once our baking dishes have been lubricated generously with butter, we'll go ahead and divide up our scallops between the two. And of course, after we've done that, we will also evenly distribute our creamy wine mixture. And as you'll see, what's going to happen here as these cook, these amazingly sweet juices will leak out from the scallop and create something that's just beyond delicious. So yes, the scallops do come out amazing in this recipe, but they almost take a backseat to the incredible juices that are going to be created in this ramekin. Basically what I'm getting at is make sure you have lots of crusty bread around. But anyway, once we have our scallops and sauce portioned out, we'll go ahead and we'll finish off the tops. And to do that, I'm going to put a little sprinkling of freshly chopped tarragon. As you longtime viewers know, that's my favorite all-time seafood herb, but other sweet, delicate type herbs would work. Things like dill, sorrel, chervil, even Italian parsley would work. So a little bit of fresh herb, and then we'll go ahead and dust the top with some real Parmesan cheese, some Parmigiano Reggiano. Okay, as I mentioned in the intro, we do want to keep these on the lighter side. So unlike many seafood gratins, we're not going to bury our beautiful scallops with a thick sauce and handfuls of cheese and breadcrumbs. So we'll just do a relatively light dusting. And then before we pop these in the oven, we will drip over a little more melted butter, which is optional but highly recommended. As they say in France, it's not really a gratin unless you've drizzled some butter on. It sounds a lot better in French. So we'll drizzle on a little bit of butter. That's going to help give it its signature caramelized look. And at that point, these are ready for the oven. So what we'll do is we'll pop these in a very hot 450-degree oven for just about 3 or 4 minutes just to get them started. Because what we'll do at that point is we'll switch our oven setting to broil, and we will broil these on high about 8 inches away from the heat until the tops are browned and the scallops are just cooked through. And by the way, my tripod doesn't go low enough, so I had to sit on the floor to get this shot, which is why it looks like one of those cop shows from the 90s. But anyway, like I said, we'll start them in a hot oven, and we'll finish under the broiler until they look like this. The surface should be beautifully browned, and like I said, the scallops should be just barely cooked through. And as predicted, those scallops are going to be swimming around in some of the most delicious stuff you've ever tasted. In fact, I couldn't wait. Oh man, that's good. And as far as determining the perfect doneness for your scallops, the best way I can describe it is that the scallops will go from mushy and translucent to slightly springy and opaque, which you're going to get a great look at when we go in for the official taste. So I'm going in with the spoon, and what you should be feeling is something that's very tender, still kind of soft, but not mushy. Okay, your spoon should cut through nicely, although you should try to cut all the way through so a small piece doesn't snap back and splash a little butter on your shirt. But anyway, that's an occupational hazard. And above and beyond the texture, the flavor should be amazing. Fresh scallops have such a beautiful sweet flavor. They're very mild. There's no off-putting fishiness. And this is the shot right here where you can really see what I was talking about going from mushy translucent to a firmer, slightly springy opaqueness. I mean, look at that. That's absolutely perfect. And as I've already referred to, this is really just an excuse to dip French bread into that cooking liquid, which is tremendous. In fact, it's so good, don't make the rookie mistake of eating it all with your first couple scallops. Okay, because you want to be able to enjoy that throughout the entire process. I mean, the last thing you want is to get down to that final scallop and be staring at a dry ramekin. That would not be a happy ending. So just a little something to keep in mind. But anyway, that's it. Scallop gratin. So simple, so easy. In fact, if you've never cooked scallops before in your life, this is a pretty good recipe to start with. This pretty much cooks itself. Basically, you just keep an eye on things, let your broiler do most of the work. You just make sure you have a spoon and plenty of bread around. All right? So I really do hope you give this a try. Head over to foodwishes.com for all the ingredient amounts and more info as usual. And as always, enjoy.